Thank you for joining us, legalizers. It is another week of cannabis legalization news, and we're going to do a recap of whatever happened in cannabis legalization for the past week. It's October 6th. It's beautiful outside, depending on where you are. West, gorgeous. And so we have our main story has to do with Kamala Harris being the first major presidential candidate to call for legalizing marijuana in a presidential campaign. Let's get to our main story and bring on our co-host, Miggy.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. How was your week?
Good. We made it, dude. We're more reliable than your ex.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We're more reliable than most shit. And so if this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for tuning in. You must really enjoy cannabis legalization. And so we can't wait to legalize, especially natural marijuana. All this Diet Coke weed has been legal for 5 years. And if you haven't joined the channel, you can. You'll get in the credits. If you have any questions, leave them in there. We see them as they're coming in live. And then, of course, if you are not joining us live, it is recorded. But Kamala Harris on the record.
Leadership. That's how you do it. You stand by something. A lot of people are going to be mad. Oh, the ex-cop, she arrested somebody. Have you heard of anybody coming out and speaking up? Like one person saying it was her fault. She's the one that came after me for weed. Have you heard anybody particular say that? Like, I hear this sweep of, well, she put a lot of people in jail, but as a top cop, you're just only juggling and administrating, right? Like management type thing, not a, you know, like I'm going after these particular people type thing.
She wasn't going after him. She was enforcing the law. And the law, when she became the lead prosecutor in the day, it was already medically legal. She didn't approve of going completely legal, but that's probably because, hey, I've really been enjoying locking these people up. It's an easy case to prove. Either way, she went onto a podcast, which is unlike ours, because I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. Miggy and I are not former NBA players. However, Harris told Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, who are former NBA players, and that started the podcast and then booked Kamala Harris. She's got a few quotes. I just feel strongly people should not go to jail for smoking weed. And we know historically what that has meant and who has gone to jail. And that is her talking to two former NBA players, all Black people.
Did you hear? Apparently, one of them smoked before they were presently in
So was the interview, a little bit of, man, I don't know. Oh, what joy this year. Kamala. Okay, so what are you running for? President. Far out. Far out. You're running for president. And then she had another quote. I just think we have come to a point where we have to understand that we need to legalize it and stop criminalizing this behavior. What does that mean? How are we going to legalize it? Because I just did a deep dive into the Cannabinoid Regulation and Safety Act, and all that really would do is probably ban intoxicating hemp and highly regulate all hemp products. So much so that everyone's, oh, it's small business, man. And like, you got to let these hemp. Did you read that bill? Because if that goes through, it's not small business. Like it's more onerous than it's a tantamount to the regulations we have in Illinois. An Illinois license holder would be able to qualify that fast. Here's the problem. The Cannabinoid Safety and Regulation Act doesn't apply to marijuana. They define cannabis in a way where cannabis is no longer marijuana. And that I object to and take personally.
There are so many facets to what's going to be happening, right? Like people are like, oh, why don't she do it now? What? She's freaking vice president. She's not president. It doesn't work that way. And even if she was president, you said before, this has to be an act of Congress. This has to be a bill. So I was thinking the other day, I'm not the lawyer. I'm the activist slash lazy hacker. And for cannabis to be federally legal, how we all want it to be descheduled, it's still going to be an evolution until it gets to that point where there's only so many options, right? The president can wave a magic wand, but that can only last as long as that presidency, correct? This can be overthrown at any time. Or amendments. It could be like the lit amendment that we talked about. Was it 20?
That's, yes. And so you can amend the Constitution, but that is very difficult. And the other thing is the change in the politics. And so we, Ogden memo and the Cole memo from the Obama administration, Donald Trump got rid of those. Jeff Sessions said, I overruled these, but they didn't continue to enforce. And there was, oh, Donald, and I've done videos on it, well, Donald Trump signed the 2018 Farm Bill and therefore he legalized it. No, he did not know what he was signing. It was not like we were there. And so the first iteration at this was you sell seeds. And then the next iteration was we can't sell all this CBD that we thought we'd be able to sell. What are we going to do with it? Let's make Delta 8 in a lab. And so then it was, we sell Delta 8. And then they just started concocting different semi-synthetic cannabinoids made from CBD oil. And then they finally said, the plant just grows THCA. Let's just sell weed. And so it's been a long time coming. That's the evolution. And so we need a real evolution. We need the evolution for the natural marijuana Schedule 3 so that we can see how that can go and not have this Diet Coke weed flood the nation.
That's what's happening right now, right? This is how we're getting real change. Like the Biden administration, this whole like I hate to say it, the Republican Party is not sending their best, right? They didn't send their best the last time when the guy had a chance, right? The things that happened didn't happen for people of the average citizen. It happened for people of wealth. McConnell got what he wanted. He got judges, and then the other guy, the leader at the time, got like praises. Like that's how real leadership though is. You know what? We're going to change the law of marijuana. We're going to reschedule it. That will create the infrastructure because we're going to have infrastructure. Regulations are the things we need to be afraid of.
And the Cannabinoid Safety Regulation Act, I'm fine if you want to add marijuana to that, because like the marijuana companies in highly regulated states are already doing that shit. Like, welcome to the industry, hemp guys. And like, if they're begging to be regulated, there it is. But then don't let Diet Coke weed be federally legal and say that marijuana is now cannabis. That's fucked up. It's blow the back of your brain out. Where are we? Like, why would you legalize fake shit and make it like when cannabis for the first time is the defined term of art? It doesn't mean marijuana. Like it doesn't mean the weed that gets you high. Like what are you even talking about? And so that's why I get so pissed off at the hempers. But you know what? I think we found a jurisdiction that'll take us and that is excited to have us. Yeah. And they'll also, we're not banning hemp, we're regulating it. If you want to sell cannabis to get you high, you have to buy it at a dispensary.
And I was hoping we were going to talk about that. When we get to Illinois, we should expand upon that business. How we're about to talk about, I have seen from the beginning of even my state, from when most people have a positive look on cannabis, but yet the city doesn't. And if you don't have the support of your regulatory body, your government, what's the point? And so we have a chance, and we're about to talk about more. Back to like why this rescheduling is so important, because descheduling, yeah, we all want that. So is Congress going to get together, especially this one, who believes in like magical lasers and weather traffic machines? Like there's a level of cuckoo bananas right now, and the orange president cuckoo bananas of it is we're not going to get it. I don't think we have the ball rolling forward right now. Infrastructure is happening. Nice. I don't know what people's like when we post about Kamala or even any Democrat. You're like, what's going on? It's my real world situation.
You guys remember that Donald Trump was just like one failure and catastrophe after another until it culminated. And two things: a failed coup, which they would be like they were just expressing their heartfelt opinions. Okay, bro, that's some euphemisms. And then also a terrible reaction to a coronavirus, a novel virus. So he got fired and now he wants to come back and he's worse in the head. So much so that you can't even understand what the hell the guy's saying. No one who worked with him last time wants to work with him this time. No one. He had to get a new vice president who is a complete wuss. He just sucks. And so the only thing that he'd be really good at is debating somebody who says he's a wuss and sucks, because he would never admit any question or answer it that was posed to him and just posture. But he is now being attacked on the right for his lack of enthusiasm for marijuana legalization. It is a notable vulnerability, according to a leaked Trump campaign memo. And something is leaked out of the Trump campaign that it was sent, probably expressly on purpose.
But this is back to leadership though, man. Like where during that administration, when it was happening, right? Luckily, like somebody found or was like, here's the popular thing I know you can sign and no one's gonna get mad at you, right? Like we all want an easy job, right? So like when grandpa sat in front of the fucking desk and they were like, oh, here, put this in front of you. I signed. Okay, no one mad. Farm bill caused chaos. But luckily, like the judicial reform one that the commissioner found, right? Because the White House is this cabal of like just paperwork where you got to get people's attention for a cause, for a thing. And that's part of why we won't see an amendment, right? Because now we got to get what Florida is the prime example right now, where, but even with the
They
parents,
don't believe in global warming, and they're getting bitch slapped by global warming.
but
And drill, baby, drill. And you go, oh my God. And so now the AI is smarter than us, and it's going to be looking at us and going, this remember how like you have to say to your parents and like you talk to them and it's just completely out to lunch. And then now it's the next generation as well. And you talk to your grandparents and you're like, oh my, as when they were growing up, you'd make excuses for them. The AI is going to be making excuses for at least 50% of humanity now, next 4 years from now. Back to like just the actual, like, we have an example of shit that happened. So when you take over a good economy from thanks Obama, because we had 8 years of like non freaking out. I don't, people have short term memories when it comes to like how life in America is Extremely.
dollar. Yeah. And so we're going to get to a point again. But like we are saying, I got this little video, Will, if you want to share. So like the new,
Yes, I'm great.
yeah. So like this, you guys can't hear it.
I think in terms of marijuana, I think
No,
and
yeah,
legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state precedent. The way they're doing it in Florida, I think is going to be actually good. It's going to be very good.
People should not be going to jail for smoking weed. We need to legalize it and stop criminalizing this behavior.
States issues. States should make these decisions. Second, I don't want anybody going to prison for smoking a joint.
People who are 18, 19, 20 years old who had a conviction around cannabis, who have lived exemplary lives and were simply trying to be licensed in whether be a nurse or a teacher, a police officer. They were trying to do these things, and that was keeping them from being able to do them.
Please, there's just such a cop on it, I think.
this is how it is. Like, that's why the normal files their intent to participate in DEA marijuana rescheduling hearing. That's a story. But that's why the DEA, they just took it off the election calendar. They said, we'll deal with this after the election, a month after the election, when we figure out who maybe wins. And somebody might say, yeah, that person won or not. We'll find out. But it's 20 past the hour, and we'll talk more about DEA marijuana rescheduling. Short break, sponsored by Collateral Base.
Go normal.
I'm not sure why that's on. Okay, there we go. And we have refreshed our website over at cannabisindustrylawyer.com. Head on over to cannabisindustrylawyer.com if you have any cannabis business needs and want to work with me. I'll see if you need to be at our consulting company, Collateral Base, or our law firm, the Howard Law Group. Now, that is my law blog. I need to make some more blogs, by the way. Be working on those, but Tuesday in Chicago.
Nice. But also, if you want to work with a lawyer who fucking knows the plant, knows the industry, knows,
Oh, it's bad. Then he will not take you as a client.
you're draw a line, man. But luckily, we have the lawyers that had been part of the community, at least far as like advocating for reform, right?
Right. It's the application for reform, but then there's despicableness. And so I'll see lawyers that just go over on the high side, and I look at them and I go, I know your client's rich. I know you have to billable hours, but you're not supposed to break a lot of fire and do it. And you should have known better. And I'm beating the crap out of him right now in Chicago. And that's like this, never try to sue the state. Let me tell you why. The state owns the licenses and sets the rules. You will be getting defeated by the regulatory process while you're trying to fight your rights in court. And they might not even have subject matter jurisdiction to say what's going on. Like, people are just so full of themselves and rich, and they don't understand that the cannabis industry is a privilege and it's not a right. And so if you just think that you're able to like farm and grow stuff and go to farmers markets, sell your products, this has never existed in common law. This is a privilege given to you by the state.
There will be a day, one day, like with rescheduling. There will be a day right? I can sell craft beer. I can buy craft.
No, you can't.
You're
You can't. You can't swell.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, you can just no
Okay.
permits, no licenses. You can
No, you
just
can
sell
permit
craft
it.
beer. That's fine. And so that's what I mean. You got the regulations. And so you're gonna have the regulations. But we both agree, homegrown doesn't dent demand. It increases demand because it raises like growing is hard. I got this peanut butter breath plant in my grow, and she's just a turd out there. And so I want to like see if there's any type of infestation or something. But it's one of those things where I am going to have a higher appreciation for it. And if the price point is right at the dispensary and it's got a good selection, I'm going to go there because the stuff that I grow, I'm going to get bored of real quick. And you bring down something and you're not allowed to sell it. You got a lot of your own weed. And so a lot of my weed is bad.
McDonald's hasn't put grocery stores out of businesses, right?
That's right.
We're just going to be another. And here's kind of the fun thing about our journey, right? Because when we get to it, we talk more about Illinois. Because it's surreal, dude. Just being in Seattle, knowing that I'd be a part of. I care about the community that this store is going to be a part of. There's going to be a thing that, like a belief, like a faith. I mean, when we do this channel now, we talk about the plan, change the law. We've done that for years, but now this thing that you and I are in the business side of things that I never adopted. But especially with normal nowadays.
But yeah, but we're looking at DIA. We're looking at locating in a disproportionately impacted area. We're looking at being in an R3 zone. And so this is the stuff that like I get so pissed off at the hempers because they don't give back. They don't change laws. They just take money and they don't even have to pay their taxes because of IRC 280E. And they're getting people high and they're not supposed to get people high. Illinois created this stuff. And that's why we were able to get the license because you qualify as social equity and then we won. And then now we're getting operational for my use case and knowledge and whatnot. But the location is beautiful. And it also is a DIA, so like a disproportionately impacted area in an R3 zone. So the people that we're going to be hiring, the local community there, is one of those areas that has been disproportionately hurt by the drug war, so much so that there are funds available from the sales of our taxes from selling cannabis. That's where the R3 money comes in, that grant money that pushes money back to qualifying nonprofits in those areas to help build up the community. So we get, if we do this right, like one of our first hires is going to be somebody who can help me write these grants, help me write these cannabis applications to get money back to the community that we're supporting. And that's something that no other business can do. Well, when you deal with like your craft grows, your craft beers, your bars, your restaurants.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Where are they bringing money back to the community to help to rebuild it because of grants that are there from the sales of their goods?
I agree, like the level of disparity when it comes to the business, because that guy who does a craft beer, whatever, it's you. It's a person who goes and has a day job, works as a construction worker, whatever the case is, and you come home and you make a case worth, and you take that to your local market after you fill out the permits and paperwork and proving that you're working in the cleanliness, you're meeting all the local conditions, right? Like food or whatever. But that's on you to look up whatever how you're going to source things to cover your ass. And that's also another reason why you have a lawyer, right? Like the build out and all the beginning stuff is pricey once you get bigger. We're going to be jumping into big. We don't get a chance to start a little bit small. It's going to be big, and then it's going to be like, all right, doors are open after. But I'm also excited to help an area. Like I want to help another part of goddamn America, right? Let's the big part.
It's what I told them. I'm like, look, and so the community even wants to cut us a check to help get operational there as a loan that's forgiven if we can sell enough and we pay the loan back from that sales tax. It's a sales tax participation. These are amazing things to help rebuild these communities that have been blighted or hurt or that need help of these businesses coming in. And so when people say the limited license market is not good, and then you look at how an open market state has all this regulation, and then people are just going out of business. And so you just have the person who can, it's a race to the bottom, it's a person who can put everybody else out of business and have enough cash and sell under the cost and lose money for a decade until they could then gain market share and then they have pricing power, raise cash. That didn't make any fucking money for those people that were hurt. There's like, where's the tax dollars there that goes to the R3
Yes,
grant
sir.
program that creates a grant that then rebuilds that community? Well, it doesn't exist.
That's because the law has been bad for this whole time, right? Rescheduling is going to help
Well,
create that change.
but then it's a fundamental kind of like business. Some people say this, some people say it. And so when they say it's an open market or it's a closed market, it's a limited market, which one's better for a policy results standpoint? I think the limited market's better if you have the appropriate tax and redistribution and allocation of that cash flow back into the communities that you killed. And I think Detroit, Michigan would be much better off with a lot of producers and a lot of products still, but that cash going to fix the problem that it caused, as opposed to the cash going to where it's going.
You still got like states like New Mexico though, who are they are a race to the bottom.
Losing their shirt.
Yeah, no, they're
that's
racing to the bottom.
losing their shirt. Yeah.
But it's also you understanding, okay, if I'm going to go into this now, there is a bottom.
But that's not what it is.
No,
No,
it
like,
could be.
but that's why you had the limited market. And
Isn't
you
this a
know,
bottom for restaurants still in any kind of business, right?
this is a restaurant. This is restored injustice.
This
This
is
is only an oil dealer. You're an oligarch.
Yeah, no, I get that part. Right
You're
now,
not a. Yeah.
but rescheduling
You have
could
a
change that.
privilege.
Rescheduling
No.
will give it will give that privilege to everybody. Right now, the privilege is
No.
you've been arrested and you joined at a time and base, right?
No, that privilege would still not go to everybody. If it goes to Schedule 3, then there's no method for you to go to the pharmacy at Walgreens and say, or go to a doctor and say, write me a script for weed, and then go to Walgreens and have that fulfilled. You would still then have to go to our dispensary, and we'd have to file with the DEA that we're a compliant state dispensary first.
The method is going to be us being Walgreens, man.
You have the total addressable market, and then there's how much of those retail sales you can hit, and how much of those retail sales are possible in that market, and then how you can take market share of those. That's you can make it in matrix charts. It is a very simple game.
But it's an argument almost of fairness, right? But that's where
Yeah, you compare that the guy's LeBron James. You think it's fair that guy's got cerebral palsy and has to be in a wheelchair? And do you think our disability system's fair? Have you seen our disability system where if you win the lottery, they kick you off for disability?
But if you have an opportunity to do it the right way, right? But it won't be that way. We're already there though with rescheduling. Like rescheduling is just, it's going to be a while before, like you said, the high hemp thing is just ridiculous because it's the end consumer is being deceived, right? There's a lot of people who's not going to watch this podcast. There's a lot of people who don't know who I am. And it's weird that they
Most
do
people-
now.
Most people-
Fuck that. Unless it was like a hemp fest, man.
Unless they're like
It's
weed,
weird.
and then there's like a pretty decent probability they know who you are.
Right. And
It's just kind of fun.
or I just tell people Google me because then it'd be like, oh, not a cop. That's just the bar I need to like acquire new weed in another state. Not a cop.
But a cop. There's the luck.
And hey, Florida's got a lot of news out.
Florida's
got a lot of like interesting ads going on right now.
Yeah.
You shared an interesting ad that, oh, it's all corporate weed. If it's big weed, don't vote for it.
And that's a pretty decent reason, because once it's passed, them's the laws, and that gets ingrained. We're kind of coasting on it. We're not really, I mean, like the ability for Illinois to like cast off by with 400% the old guard, at least 400% in terms of like retail shelf space. Like they went from 110 dispensaries, 55, then 110. A grand total of 610 dispensaries, whereas it's fully developed and are at 224 right now. And it's only like 114 of the social equity dispensaries. So there's still like a while to run, hundreds of dispensary licenses yet in Illinois. And that ability to take that money and then put it back into those communities is something that they make, but it's really expensive to get going. Creates this dual need, like the social equity guy that wins, he can be an idiot and want all the money in the world and not make a deal. And then that greedy guy that wants it and that wants to like just totally neg the social equity guy, like, oh, it's terrible. You know, too bad, but you'll always lose money with this. And they kind of just take it off your hands for $3.27. There's not like a fair marketplace. There's not this worth. But also,
life has a way, right? I hate to say it. I get these little influencer kids who get a lot of money at once, and then it was all sure. But the thing is, this is it's a plan. It's just this nothing that eventually, once rescheduling happens, then if you want to be in the business and sell it, there's going to be already paths. There's going to be ways to get to create the store, be the grower, whatever it is. Right now, you can only be like an influencer bullshit, right? There's paths already, but I never really saw. We're about to have a store. But if you want to have a store, that'd be cool. But right now in our state, the state will be limited, and it's not fair. But we're gonna make the best of it and do the best with the store. But like rescheduling will make it easier for everybody. Kentucky maybe give you a path to not have 50 rate already. Yeah, every operator would make it easier for every operator because the audit risk. And so like I'm planning on making a C corp for the company, but there's business reasons for why besides the audit risk from IRC 280. However, like that risk is very real. And so it's one of the reasons why I wanted like having a tenancy inside of a tenancy for the lease, because then you have the area where the cannabis dispensing happens, and that is a sublease on the whole space, so that you're really segmented because like you can't deduct that expense. There's another business that's renting to it, and there's no cannabis business going on that square footage. So let's say we have 2,000 square feet, and we'd have a subtenant for 1,000 square feet. That 2,000 square feet you can deduct. They just doing the leg, not the store though. But like, literally, that's literally IRC 288. That is literally. You have to make use of the industry insights. Like, you're welcome, everybody. If you have a dispensary, please put us on, because, and then tell your customers to ask us questions, because we'll eventually tell us to come visit us. But we can't say where on this show, because that is literally against your terms of service. This is educational content and entertainment only. Yeah. What do you think about Florida not allowing home grow? I don't know if this is gonna be what I was talking about. So the argument is CureLeaf is suing the Republican GOP because they've been posting ads about this no home grow situation as being the big weed coming for you. But you know how everything's followed the money, right? If you want, whose side to be on, and as American, as someone who supports progress for everybody, not just one or two, right? Like CureLeaf, right? Kim Rivers, good on you, you made your bag. You guys made something that is getting stocks, getting investment. It's lasted longer than MedMen. It's outshining CureLeaf. But on top of that, they're putting in to fight for change in the law. It's an American company funding this, but it's rent-seeking behavior. That's what that is. Oh. And so when you do rent-seeking behavior, and I love rent-seeking behavior. I always advise the clients to do rent-seeking behavior if you have the cash. Like, only want clients that can do rent-seeking behavior, because then I know if I send them a big enough invoice, they fucking know and they have the money. But you're doing it for the money, but at the same time, you're doing it for the policy change. And so that's really what they're trying to do, is for the policy change. They're going to change this component of the law that, according to their financial projections, will benefit them this much. And so voting for Amendment 3 would benefit truly probably $500 million to $1 billion in sales a year. And there you go. And so like, but you had just driven a dump truck of money up to my door and you expect me to ignore it, as opposed to take some of those dump trucks and then place it onto elected officials for campaign contributions. It's not a bribe unless I'm in New York and then the mayor likes to do that. Oh, that's another good cut. That's one of the reasons why, like, when New York was rolling out, I was like, oh, really interesting. I don't know about this. Holy crap. I can't believe how corrupt New York. It made Illinois look like church. But, hear me out here. You get rent-seeking behavior, business 101. It's just another way of saying being an asshole so you can control the market. All this money that they'll say whatever was hypothetically fucking given to them, that money's coming from somebody. It's coming from a consumer. Right. So like the consumer benefits in all this, the average American, the average Floridian benefits from this, or Alabama, because they're probably driving across the country line. That's where it's going from. Doesn't matter though. It's an American, right? A consumer is do I care? Yeah, this sucks that Trulies is going to be the only game for a bit.
Well, it's not going to be the only game. There's 24 of them, but I want to give a shout out to the seduction of people. That's me, my nuts. But Dale's report is so much better. You guys are way too worked. Yeah, go tell the Canadian that who has free health care moving to Miami that we're too woke. See if he wants to go pay for his own health care, and let's audit his business.
I'm sorry, woke means we care about you and that we want you to have a chance. Like that's
They just want to talk about stocks, and then they want to like book the hottest stock they can get. And then they want to be the super professionals, the ones that set the narrative. Imagine that I knew what the fuck I was doing, and I wasn't just an attorney and a consultant that like is really good at winning these licenses and other things. And I had a marketing or a broadcast degree.
But as a we call public health is good. But as an American who wants other Americans to have options to be in whatever market, not get arrested, not to be messed with. Ooh, we woke. I don't get your energy, man. Like it's hard to be mad at people when you really are shooting yourself in the dick. You're helping yourself here, man. Like I don't get people who do this shit, but it's fine. Cause but and again, it's like that. What do you call just what we were just talking about with the business where you try to control the market?
The limited market, or you mean like rent seeking behavior?
Rate seeking behavior. That's that kind of mentality, right? That's that. Fuck you. I'm gonna get mine.
And that is the scarcity rule of business. And so like business has been about that forever.
And that's the thing about business is like we're about to evoke into this. Business is pretty simple if you do it right. There's a good way where it can be win. Like you can get fucked. We can definitely get F. But I think we haven't been rushing into this. We are gonna go and we have a plan. Even though we haven't ran a store before, we're not gonna go in this like cold, right? I can't wait till we get like a go for property space. I'm fucking flying out there. I am gonna be hand jobbing every person in the city if I have to.
Don't give people hand jobs in their lives.
I am just saying I'm gonna man whore the shit out of myself for our brand
You
new
don't need
things.
man whore people. You just have to, again, the engagement with the community is important. Making the story about the community is important. And then giving back to the community so that we reinvest into it is also very important. Like I want our marketing in 12 to 18 months after we begin operations to be like we're a congressman in the sense that we say, we brought this money back to the community. These are 3 programs. And this is what I really believe in, these limited markets that set it up right, that have the taxation going back into the areas, is an economic engine program that they create. Then we could say and have press releases, we helped write grants for 1.5 million, 2 million, $3 million of grants brought back to the community so that we're giving people that don't have their Maslow hierarchy needs. We're covering their bases, and we're using the system that was set up to cover their bases. We're not just a hemp shop, smoke shop that pays $25 a year for a retailer's tax, and then they sell everything that they know gets them high. And then as soon as somebody's like flagged, they just change the composition of what they're selling, and then they have the next product. And so that's like, when you buy weed from one of those shops, you're buying, and you could probably then go find Witness right next to it.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
could
yeah.
find Kratom right next to it, or like extracts of Kratom, or other things that can get you really high. So why are we allowing that?
That's the lie. That's the ignorance that it's being perpetrated by this existence of law already. We have to fight. It's already been long enough to fight the stoner attitude, right? Like you joked earlier, like the meetings where it's like, hey, man, that's good weed sometimes, man. Like sometimes you just brain fart and be like, what? Other times,
That's why you need notes. Notes, not baby notes. So if I brain fart, I got a blank page there. I'd be like, where am I again?
Oh, you know what? Do we want to go over and talk about the thing that we fight for? Can we talk about?
We're fighting for. Let's play some Name That Strain.
Purples? Is that purples?
Yeah, it looks pretty purple to me.
So it's an invigorating cold war derived from a genetic cross of Durban mints and Girl Scout cookies. Where's that? Sativa.
Usually don't get so dark. I'm just reading what the words say, man. Coastal California.
That somebody got it. That's marijuana. They nailed it.
That's
Out the park. Okay, what else we got?
double bump on that. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't understand about sativa. The picture that I see on the website, Coastal California, $28. That ain't, which
Oh.
course, that's a good price point. That's
I
a
like
good
that
price.
terps are listed. I watched a James Loud podcast today with Angela Bobka, and they were saying how
Uh-huh.
terps are more. We always talk about terps and the limonene and but for that experience that we're talking about. But then they're saying there's more to it, right? Because you can get heady with this plant. You can break down little trichomes, get a little magnifying glass, go all the way down to
Yeah.
little tiny crystals.
It's beautiful. You can baby that plant and feed it shit throughout its life cycle to change its flavor profile. You don't want factory farm weed. You don't. You want good craft weed, which is harder to export then. But that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for that type of stuff. It's so sad looking at the Illinois craft growers. 17 out of 87 of like operation because they come all in social equity guys, and there's usually a lot of fraud in there or like unreasonableness. The grows are the most expensive because like think about it. You've got to build all that shit. It's got to be to like regulation and spec, and then like they allow you to 5,000 square feet to start. So everybody gets like the greed pill, and so they want to build out 5,000 square feet as opposed to save several $1 million and just start with the first 1,000 and buy oil from the big guys and start your vape lines and shit and like your guys. But even to get to that for over $1 million,
You got to keep the lights on, but
and then it's $1 million to like just turn the lights on. And then you keep the lights on while you allow that revenue to start coming up and you flower that first cycle. As it grows, they're very expensive to start.
sure. And that's why even being in the store is going to be expensive. But
But like we can open up, we can stock our shelves, and we can go to retail the next day. Like you can go to money the next day. And yeah, sure. The money's going to be in inventory, of course, but you can go to inventory quick. Like the growers, they have to go to invoice 30 days net. And so we'll take our craft or our inventory in,
yeah,
and then we'll have invoices that are due in 30 days. We're selling our invoices.
yeah, I'm excited to see the interactions with the grows. I can't wait to document. Anyone charging that much of anything? That was the you say it was?
That one was $28.
Not too bad.
No, that's like California's got great prices. Washington State's got great prices. Missouri has prices that are similar to Illinois, which is fascinating. And then, yeah, it was nuts. Like I got a vape and an eighth, and that was like $100, like out the door, which is not much. If you go to your shop, if you get a vape and an eighth, how much is that out the door?
Dude, I can buy it cheap and walk out $20 with both if I find the right place.
But see, as an asthmatic, it's not good.
For me, it's not good quality. Vapes are always say anyone charging that much for an eighth deserves to go out of business. No, I don't think if you can get good weed, because there's a process and all this, and unfortunately the
If it's
tax
outdoor.
yeah, are the
You
highest.
don't know what that
there.
grower's markup is.
One day, homie, but I will be there. I think in the beginning when I start open studio, I'll be there for 6 months, just to straight up find a place to squat.
And like one of the things is, I mean, so you're gonna say that's cool, but again,
We talk about profits and stuff. I get it. Like
these buildings
Or-
are multi-use, and so like we could put a studio apartment or an apartment above it. So you can say, is what I'm saying. Instead, we can put that into the build out, but yeah, keep the day job until the night job pays.
too much, Sean. I like to drink. Snacks.
Hey, yeah, shout out to Will from Nimbus Snacks. That is in coastal, they say. Coastal California.
30%.
Curated cultivar derived from a genetic cross of Durban mints and Girl Scout cookies. Got a real Cali vibe to it. Okay. Green thumb, we already talked about CureLeaf for a minute.
Which one you want to do?
Yes. The green thumb. Cannabis workers exiting the union in New Jersey. So these unions, they're a good idea in limited market states, but in unlimited market states where it's a race to the bottom, the unions really can't get a toehold in and causes problems for the employer because then it pushes the cost of operating even higher. If you want pro-union industry, you're going to want a limited market industry.
Union dues, man. It comes down to what's the union doing for you. I get this is the food union. They're a pretty large corporation, but and I know they're pretty strong up here in Seattle, but I mean, they're not able to represent and help out, you know, but bud tenders. That's who your main recreational population is, right? Bud tenders, managers.
It's bud tenders, inventory managers, and general managers. And we'll have a few agents in charge. You're going to need to get certified. You'll come out here and you're one of the managers. And then we all do. But glad the municipality wants to ban hemp or regulate hemp. So if you want to sell weed that gets you high, you have to buy it from a license. But there's going to be lean months, and a lot of marketing.
But like, I'm not afraid of unions. Here's the thing about unions, right? Like, you're giving up like 2 hours of your paycheck for what do you get in return? And like, that's why I don't think they're strong right now, because I plan to be transparent with the employees and shit. Like, this, yeah, you fucking will do. This is rocket science. Like, I know Tom's all this is business, but it is business because it's gonna be younger staff. I think we're in a better spot, you know, with both our nuances and the success of what the shop's gonna be. Like, I'm looking forward to dealing with the business people, like the city. Like, we have a city legit talking to us. And yeah, now it helps bring costs down. Holy crap. Like, the butt cheek puckered just a little bit, dude, when you sent me that message. I was just like, okay, we have a real opportunity here. And it just doesn't happen overnight. That's the unfortunate thing. And,
No.
and if it does, it's MedMen.
It's a surefire way to lose money. There's certain practices that I won't entertain. And MedMen had several of them. It's just that there's a lot of risk involved.
Yeah.
Even once you get operational, there's a lot of risk involved. So you try to do it the best you can. And then once you get it, then you try to build a moat or your IP and your systems that give you competitive advantage over people that are also in the small limited market so that you can grow. But we can only grow to 10. And so this is one of 10. If we get into Missouri, we could have one instead of their social equity. I'm actually allowed just one social equity license in Missouri. And it's neat like that, but you have to be really careful about doing it. And so let's go to our next story.
Is New Jersey a limited state? Limited license?
No. Yes and no. New Jersey is a unlimited. New Jersey, California, and so the municipality can limit, and so it's a dual licensing jurisdiction. So the municipality can limit, but then you can have 2/3 of New Jersey opted out. So it's 9 million people, and then just dinky little area, and then so it's very dense, and then 3 million of them, or maybe 4. Said, sure, we'll allow it in those areas. And then the other 2/3 of the counties said, no, we're going to opt out. And now, just like you see in California, there's like licensing rounds that happen that are very competitive and very small. Like Rondo Beach, I think is going to happen in California this year. And somewhere else is happening right now, but I'm not in that market. So I just look at it and go, it could be hot. And it's true because there's just only so many hours in the day. That's how New Jersey kind of is, where if you can flip a county because you're so locally connected and only allow 2 dispensaries and there's 300,000 people in that county, you're making bank. Yeah. Especially if you can shut down the hemp operators, because otherwise you just have in this city, there's 4 dispensaries. There's actually 15.
Real
the hemp
versus
operators.
fake weed.
Essentially fake price sells cars. And so if it's cheaper and there's no regulations and there's no paper trail and you're 20 or you're 19 or you don't want to pay the taxes or you don't want to show them your ID.
Wow, there's a short game to that, to growing, to running a farm, to be a farmer, right? Like, you can sell all the pounds you want of hemp to whoever, but then you still have to have that cycle, you know, building that brand and all that other bullshit. Well, we had a lab in the news here coming from NJ
What's
Biz
that?
from California. The California Department of Cannabis Control revoked a commercial testing laboratory's permit a month ago after tests at state-run labs discovered harmful pesticides in marijuana The private lab had cleared for sale. So somebody slipped. Somebody didn't test the thing properly, probably. But many industry operators and nationals. So this is coming from MJ Biz Daily about the labs. You know, it's good to do quality. This is how regulation works, right? Like, for hopefully, who watches the Watchmen, right? And that's good. That I tell you other lab stories, dude, of some regulations that some industries need more regulation. With what I do in quality control, what I've seen that you can let slide, that's why I'm hoping, like, being part of our store, my invention, the next one will be the labs. That'll be great for more
These kids own labs.
And so there's very often restrictions.
Oh, yeah.
So
You want to own a lab.
Yeah, on a lab, and then you can't own like the grow or usually even the retail. And so like we have to look at the regulate. It's a highly regulated industry, and I think it's going to continue to be highly regulated. But
I don't need so much of, we can eventually, but I would like to buy the machine. I understand the shit. So I would like to do our own quality, like the Illinois market and all that stuff. It's an aspect that can be there, but most people don't. It's the standardization of the equipment, the testing, the processes. There's people to reach out for that. There's people who've been doing this now for years with organizations like NIST and ASTM, with references that actually do like electrical engineering and all the other, how we don't die. And I think that's the other thing about regulation, dude. I see people freaking out about, we need to kill all these regulatory bodies. These rules are bad. There's a rule for peanut butter can fucking kill you. There's a NIST standard for peanut butter that's 50 years old. And that's a reference for the peanut butter sold in mass markets. That's the whole reason why with the milk, why they don't have raw milk markets. They don't want people to die because botulism and things like that. Think about that as this comes along, because it's not the regs that are bad. It's the law, and the law needs to catch up. And so then the rescheduling is the path.
We're almost rescheduling. Like a regulatory framework is needed. We need a regulatory framework for weed, from growing it to processing it to selling it. We need a regulatory framework for it. This is what we think is safe. And so the Cannabinoid Safety and Regulation Act, because they left weed out, I'm like, oh, if you put marijuana in that, great. Here's how it's regulated and it's safe, and we know that. And it allows for interstate commerce, fixes all the FDA crap, all of that nice stuff. But you can't just say, we're going to regulate weed and we're going to pretend that if we just call it hemp because it has Delta 9 or a little less, but all these other things that you're high, it's not the same. And then also, it doesn't change any of the federal rules or the state rules or the actual policy in the law that we've been trying to change. Legalize it. Don't create a weird loophole and crime. Now you have entrapment cases left and right. No, I bought a THCA pre-roll from that smoke shop, and then I was smoking it while I'm waiting for a bus, and then you get arrested in North Carolina because now it's marijuana. That's terrible policy.
And again, changing the rule is how you empower the citizen, the American citizen. This is not save Colombia and Mexico or whatever. It is save America. This is an issue that's fundamental to your rights. So I always find it silly that this is how you have to do it, though. You have to change the actual rules. And by rescheduling it and by putting that instruction out there and doing it, that will actually, this is real leadership that we've been seeing. So I don't understand how people with the short-term memory champion the Orange Julius, but whatever.
Oh, you mean Donald Trump? If you call Donald Trump the Orange Julius, it's better than 3 orange whips. But we have a couple of more stories and then we'll ranch them out. We have a new rule for federal loan program that adds restrictions to companies that work with marijuana businesses. This is terrible. This is out of the USDA, the thing that purportedly has legalized weed because of the hemp statutes. But if a borrower intends to lease space or enter into a purchase agreement with a marijuana dispensary, it is not eligible. And then given our borrowers receiving incomes from marijuana operation that is in violation of federal laws. Marijuana is a controlled substance under federal law and subject to federal prosecution under the Controlled Substances Act. The Cannabinoid Safety and Regulation Act did not change that.
Yeah.
That's why I don't support it. Because you're leaving marijuana in the lurch and you're saying that all other weed is now cannabis? Get the fuck out of here.
Again, every law, every rule, like even like licenses, right? The reason why you are drug tests can violate your fucking rights, your time, your space, is because insurance practices and business is able to, it's a requirement, federal side of things, right? This shouldn't be a thing that's checked, but things will always be against cannabis when it comes to a test in your system because, or even like with the financial stuff, it with aid or business, because it's not scheduled properly. So we can readjust that. Then maybe we can start building that infrastructure. The cannabinoid create, like Tom said before, it was not meant for high hemp, was not the intention. T-shirts and paper, rope, that was the intention. We can get there. We can get it so everybody has a fair like understanding of what real weed is, what weed is. But how is 0.3% the fucking dividing line here? It shouldn't be. But rescheduling it can and it should happen.
Yeah. That's something else, man.
Mhm.
It is something else, but this is an amazing industry, even when it is limited market. So you still have to be a very smart operator and keep expenses close to the belt. And that's going to be interesting to see because I don't want to end up like cannabis. We have some stock news to round out, and this is fitting because I'll be in Chicago at the Benzinga event Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. I've not been really hyping that on social media, mostly because I, I already have 4 or 5 meetings set up, and I'm like, man, I hype this. But then I don't want until we're open. I also don't want that. I am trying to keep things off my plate. There's enough. I will, and then once we're open, then we're staffed. We got this and that guy and this. Yeah, okay. And then you can start marketing and bringing it all in. But it's stepwise fashion. Where cannabis lender fed up with being ghosted. This is out of the Green Market Report from October 3rd. FISAI, FISAI, is that FISAI or is that FISAI? Either way, they hold $50 million of the cannabis company's debt and they're getting ghosted. Don't you hit when you loan $50 million to a cannabis company whose books maybe you haven't looked at close enough before you gave them the $50 million. And you have a pray and hope strategy, they say. That's not the best because they want the passage, something in Florida to hopefully make up and be able to make these payments. This is when the thing that I really want to do is the management service agreements, because then like, be like, and let me show you your financial statements for why this is bad. And the bank hopefully has those, but may not. So now they have structured their debt because like my bank lawyer hat was not used at all for this transaction to see how secured they are in their collateral base. What, so the Fireside, is this like a financial group or is it an actual grow or they're just the owners of grows, right? Like who are they? What is this? Probably like a hedge fund or a fund where you see, we can set that up as well. You do those as C Corps. You usually do them as what they call LPs in Canada, limited partnerships, or here it would be like an LLP and so limited liability partnership. You can also do them as LLCs. If I was going to do it, I'd probably do it as an LLC and then different units. And so there would be like management units and then there would be member units and the members get the preferred share of the profit distributions. But then these are just straight creditors. And I don't know, that's one of those things where you pay your interest only and then the note becomes due. And if they're not convertible, like they could just say, oh, we're going to convert our stock at our discount factor this much of your company based on a fair market assessment of the valuation. And so if we had their books, we could run discounted cash flow analysis to get a fair market valuation of what the company's worth. It's one of those deals where this is just what I did for a living. But then instead of being a cannabis company, it was usually like a loan the bank had in the company. I was trying to figure out who the bad player was here in Cannabis Co. Is it? What was Cannabis Co? Were they a brand too? Were they a grow? I thought Cannabis is a brand. I thought Cannabis is a grow and all other stuff. Cannabis publicly traded over OTC traded company. Like I'm thinking about calling our C Corp IRT. That would be the ticker, or we could get OTC. But I first have to start the C Corp. That'll probably be like next week, and then the C Corp would have business units to acquire the real estate and then manage the dispensary. Crap.
Yeah, we
we
should figure out the
rates.
I was just saying line pretty much for us.
Once we start,
Going open doors and everything, right? There's gonna be a suck period where you figure out like what you're worth for sure, right?
do you think a lot of these guys just rush that?
No.
Like maybe they make some good profit for, and they're like, you know what, we can double it. Let's just go expand with some more money come in. Whereas running a company is hard, and then there's a lot of ego involved, so a lot of bullshit. Like you get up to a level, and I can start talking about discounted cash flow analysis with people that have licenses. They have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. That's because you do for a living, right? But that's like extremely dangerous. You're talking to business owners that have no idea how much their business is worth. Like,
Yeah.
it's horrible. Do you want to wrap it up?
It's been the hour. And so
Yeah.
that's our show, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into another hour of cannabis legalization news, where we go over the big stories of the week in cannabis legalization. I will be in Chicago at Benzinga and several other after parties, not that many of them. But there is a capital conference at the Marriott, a Magnificent Mile in Chicago. Not speaking. I will work with Mita, maybe do some podcasts, and then I'll be meeting with various people, and I hope to see you there, especially Charlie. When I see Charlie, I'd be like, Charlie, how about some slotting fees for a new dispensary? We got some shelf space that your products need, buddy. Same thing with Boris, my husband, and slotting fees. That's something that consumer packaged goods from Kroger might say. Either way, let's get Miggy back on here, wrap up the show, and we'll be back.
Hey, see you next week.